Hello and welcome to Deep Minutes, the channel where we dive into the depths of philosophy and explore its relevance to our lives. Today we are going to look at some of the most influential and intriguing quotes by the pre-Socratic philosophers, the thinkers who laid the foundations of Western philosophy before Socrates. Quote 7. The nature of things is in the habit of concealing itself. This quote is attributed to Heraclitus of Ephesus, who was a philosopher and mystic who lived in the 5th century BC. Heraclitus was a solitary and enigmatic figure who wrote his teachings in obscure and paradoxical aphorisms, which earned him the nickname of the Obscure or the Riddler. He is best known for his doctrine of the unity of opposites and his emphasis on change and flux as the essence of reality. He argued that everything is in a constant state of becoming and passing away, and that nothing is stable or permanent. He also claimed that there is a hidden order and harmony behind the apparent chaos and conflict of the world, which he called the Logos, or the reason, which governs and guides all things. Heraclitus's quote reflects his epistemological and mystical insight, which recognize the difficulty and mystery of attaining the true and reliable knowledge of reality. Heraclitus believed that the nature of things is not obvious or transparent, but rather hidden and elusive, and that it requires a special kind of wisdom and intuition to uncover and understand it. He also believed that the nature of things is not simple or uniform, but rather complex and diverse, and that it involves a dynamic interplay of opposites and contradictions which create tension and harmony, and which reveal the logos, or the reason of reality. Heraclitus's quote can also motivate us to pursue and cultivate the deeper and higher knowledge, and to appreciate and respect the diversity and complexity of reality. Heraclitus taught us that knowledge is not based on the superficial or the conventional, but on the profound and the original. He also taught us that knowledge is not static or fixed, but dynamic and evolving, and that it involves a constant dialogue and interaction with reality, which challenges and enriches us. Quote 8. There is a certain limit to the size of the earth, but the unlimited is not limited by anything. This quote is attributed to Anaximander of Miletus, who was a philosopher and scientist who lived in the 6th century BC. Anaximander was a pupil and successor of Thales, the first philosopher in the Western tradition. He is best known for his attempt to explain the origin and nature of the universe by identifying a single material and metaphysical principle, or arche, that underlies all things. For Anaximander, this principle was the apeiron, or the unlimited, which he conceived as a boundless and indefinite substance which is eternal, immortal, and indeterminate, and which contains all the opposites and potentials of reality. He also developed the cosmology and a natural philosophy, which explained the formation and structure of the cosmos and the phenomena of nature, such as the celestial bodies, the seasons, the winds, and the living beings. Anaximander's quote reflects his ontological and cosmological vision, which sought to explain the generation and diversity of things by identifying a single and ultimate source and cause of all things. For Anaximander, this source and cause was the apeiron, or the unlimited, which he regarded as the origin and end of all things and the principle of motion and change of all things. He also regarded the apeiron as the unlimited in quantity and quality, and the unlimited in power and authority, and the unlimited in space and time. He also contrasted the apeiron with the limited and definite things, such as the earth, which he believed to be a finite and spherical body suspended in the center of the cosmos and surrounded by the unlimited. Anaximander's quote can also inspire us to explore and understand the infinite and the unknown, and to recognize the limitations and boundaries of our own knowledge and existence. Anaximander taught us that reality is not confined or reduced to the familiar and the observable, but extends and transcends beyond the imaginable and the measurable. He also taught us that reality is not static or stable, but dynamic and creative, and that it involves a constant process of generation and destruction, of separation and reunion, of order and disorder, of justice and injustice. Quote 9. The sun is new every day. This quote is attributed to Heraclitus of Ephesus, who was a philosopher and mystic who lived in the 5th century BC. Heraclitus was a solitary and enigmatic figure who wrote his teachings in obscure and paradoxical aphorisms, which earned him the nickname of the Obscure or the Riddler. He is best known for his doctrine of the unity of opposites and his emphasis on change and flux as the essence of reality. He argued that everything is in a constant state of becoming and passing away, and that nothing is stable or permanent. He also claimed that there is a hidden order and harmony behind the apparent chaos and conflict of the world, which he called the Logos, or the reason which governs and guides all things. Heraclitus's quote reflects his cosmological and metaphysical perspective, which sought to explain the nature and function of the sun, which he regarded as one of the most important and powerful elements of reality. Heraclitus believed that the sun is not a fixed or eternal entity, but rather a variable and temporal phenomenon, which is subject to change and renewal. He also believed that the sun is not a simple or uniform entity, but rather a complex and diverse phenomenon, which involves a cycle of generation and destruction, of appearance and disappearance, of growth and decay. He also believed that the sun is not a separate or independent entity, but rather a part of the whole and interconnected reality, which reflects and expresses the Logos, or the reason of reality. Heraclitus' quote can also inspire us to appreciate and celebrate the change and renewal in our own lives, and to recognize and respect the complexity and diversity of reality. Heraclitus taught us that change is not a threat or a loss, but an opportunity and a gain, and that it is the source of life and vitality. He also taught us that diversity is not a problem or a conflict, but a solution and a harmony, and that it is the manifestation of the Logos, or the reason of reality. Quote 10. Nothing exists except atoms and empty space. Everything else is opinion. This quote is attributed to Democritus of Abdera, who was a philosopher and scientist who lived in the 5th and 4th centuries BC. Democritus was the most prominent and influential member of the atomist school of philosophy, which was founded by his teacher Leucippus. He is best known for his theory of the atoms and the void, which he regarded as the ultimate and irreducible elements of reality. He also developed a natural philosophy and a moral philosophy, which explain the phenomena of nature and the principles of human conduct based on the atomic theory. Democritus's quote reflects his epistemological and ethical distinction between the conventional and the true knowledge, which correspond to the apparent and the real nature of things. Democritus claimed that there are two kinds of knowledge: the knowledge of the senses, which is based on the conventions and opinions of people, and the knowledge of the reason, which is based on the facts and evidence of things. He also claimed that the knowledge of the senses is relative and subjective, and that it depends on the perceptions and preferences of the observers, and that it varies according to the circumstances and the conditions. He also claimed that the knowledge of the reason is absolute and objective, and that it depends on the nature and structure of the things, and that it is the same for all and always. He also claimed that the knowledge of the reason reveals the truth of reality, which is composed of the atoms and the void, which are invisible and indivisible, and which have only shape, size, and motion, and no other qualities or attribute. Democritus's quote can also encourage us to seek and attain the true and reliable knowledge, and to avoid and overcome the false and deceptive knowledge. Democritus taught us that knowledge is not based on the appearance or the opinion of things, but on the reason and the evidence of things. He also taught us that knowledge is not determined by the senses or the emotions of people, but by the logic and the observation of people. He also taught us that knowledge is not influenced by the culture or the society of people, but by the nature and the reality of things. I hope you enjoyed this video on the quotes of pre-Socratic philosophers. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Deep Minutes for more philosophical content. Also, feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.